Hey, shalom, everybody. Shalom, shalom. So, I wanna make this video to for some of you that have requested this video, or that have requested a response to what happened in what do you call it, in Notre Dame. So. Let me bring this up first. The first point I need to make is that we're not being unchristlike, that we're not being unchristian. Okay, we're not being again unchristlike when we expose the evil or the heresies or the darkness in the whore, or the harlot churches, the harlots, little daughters of the whore. Okay, even to say the whore, this is biblical to refer to Rome and Babylon as the whore. If you read the book of Revelations, Yeshua himself calls the whore, okay? Sorry, I was eating popcorn. Even he goes to even call the religious leaders of his time, he called them the synagogue of Hasatan, okay? The synagogue of the accuser, of the enemy, of the adversary. Okay, sorry about that. So, it is not unloving, it's not unchristlike to call out directly the whore, okay? Now, why does Scripture call the whore to the synagogue of Satan, or to the what do you call it, what would later be the Vatican? Because anything that is missing the mark, anything that is straying away from Yehovah, from his testimony, anything that is changing his word, okay, anything that is from his testimony is, in his eyes, considered spiritual adultery, okay? Now, the body of believers, okay, is supposed to be a blameless, spotless, chaste, virgin bride for Yeshua, for the Messiah, for the Creator, for Elohim himself. Okay, this is the purpose that all was created, okay? Elohim wanted to have communion, marriage with his creation, okay? A covenant, holy matrimony, marriage, okay? As a husband and a wife, okay? He is the lover of our souls. He is the lover of everything about us. He loves us. Okay? He is the ultimate husband, bridegroom. Okay? And any harlot, whore, church or denomination that strays away from the testimony of Yehovah is a whore, is an adulteress, okay? Let me remind you of Scripture that the early people... Oh, let me bring up a good point. Let me bring up this good point, okay? If you read the Hebrew language, okay, for example, in Bereshit, Genesis, Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, were divorced from the garden, okay, were divorced from the garden. Look up the Hebraic roots of the words that are used in the book of Bereshit, in Genesis, okay? Let me come back to something I say all the time, okay? It has been said that Elohim established his tabernacle, okay? And he tabernacled with us, okay? So in the garden, he had a protection, he had a, protection, he had provision, protection, and he had his presence was there. All of the Elohim, was encountered by Adam and Chava, okay? They had the Father, the Son, and the Ruach that they experienced and felt, and they knew him, okay? But the word in the Hebrew, it's a word that has to do with knowing, as a husband knows a wife, okay? That's how intimate, and that's how intimate the intercourse, the communion, the consummated covenant marriage was between the creation and the Creator. And the problem is that sin causes the bridegroom to divorce himself from you, okay? I'm sure it's systematic. Imagine you start to sin. You have quenched the in you. You have no longer listened to the ministry of the Ruach in your mind, okay? The Ruach HaKodesh, the Spirit, will bring you into all truth, will guide you into truth, okay? Guide you away from sin, okay? Adam and Chava would have had the very words in their mind right before they were about to do what they were about to do. They knew. They had the word. They had the testimony. They had the Torah, the instructions from the Father himself, from the Creator himself. Okay? They knew, they saw Yeshua walking around, in a body of physical body. They felt the Ruach, rustling through the trees, moving over the face of the waters. Okay? To ignore the ministry of the Ruach in their minds. They decided to disobey the very living word. Okay? And they decided to disobey the Almighty, Creator, Father, okay? And they were divorced. They were divorced out of the garden, okay? Because that is what happens to a disobedient, adulterous bride. She is cast out. She is, at least maybe for a time, she is separated for, as a way of chastisement. To chastise, that goes back to, don't spare the rod and spoil the whatever, okay? The Elohim is a Elohim of righteousness, of justice, okay? When somebody does wrong, justice must be served, okay? There is chastisement that must occur. There is a punishment and a cause and effect for what was done, okay? So we should see that it is righteousness, and it is justice, and it is scriptural, And it is perfectly perfectly aligned with the scriptures to call out the whore and the harlots for what they are. Okay? They are disobedient transgressors who ignore the Ruach, ignore the word, the living word, okay, and ignore the very, all of the Elohim, okay? Let me bring up a point about Yeshua being the word, okay? Now, Yeshua being the living word, okay? Let me bring up a Hebraic understanding of Yeshua, okay? The word Yeshua means salvation. You can look this up in the Old Testament and in, for example, Shem Tov's Hebrew Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew in Hebrew, okay? Yeshua. Let me bring up a point. Yeshua, the Messiah, was promised to humanity from before the foundations of the earth, okay? Salvation was promised to humanity before the foundations of the earth, okay? The bridegroom was promised to be the sacrificial lamb that would give himself, okay? This is why in a marriage, we tell the groom that he must be prepared immediately to die for his bride, for the woman that he's marrying, okay? Before he's even married to her, he has to know in his heart, he has to know fully in his mind and in his spirit that he is to die for his bride. He is to die to himself. He is to die to the flesh, die to the world, and all of this for this bride that he is marrying, okay? Now think of this, okay? Elohim gave the very word, Yeshua, the very salvation word in the flesh, okay? Yeshua completes the salvation. There is no need for religious works, okay? For example, when the Bible speaks of doing these work, you have to remember Shaul of Tarsus was a teacher of the guidelines and the instructions. He was a Pharisee. Doesn't necessarily mean that it was a bad thing, okay? Not all of the Pharisees were corrupt like those other guys. Well, yeah, Paul was in the beginning. Anyways, the point is, Paul knew these words. For example, tachanot, like Yeshua said often, warning against the leaven of the rabbis. Okay? Here comes full circle back to whorish, whore, adulterous, harlotry. Add human justifications on top of Yah's word. Okay? That is why you make Yeshua, you make salvation useless. Okay? Because you are trying to add human interpretation. You are trying to add human effort. You're trying to add human religious works onto what the Father has already ordained for you to be enough. Okay? So there is nothing wrong with calling out the whore. Let me tell you, the whore claims that she is the only means of salvation, that only through her disgusting whore church can you truly be saved. Okay? When the Creator has said that you will be saved because of his chen, his protection. Okay? Look at my other videos where I'm talking about the difference between, okay, I won't get into that. I've made too many. please look at the video where it explains grace according to the biblical Hebrew understanding and not the Vatican's nonsense. Okay, so anyways, back to what happened in Notre Dame. Okay, scripturally, Elohim does not need buildings of stone and brick and wood, and Elohim does not need buildings. Okay, and somebody said on Facebook that Notre Dame is it's a monument of human ingenuity or construction, whatever. Let me tell you something. That is the boastful pride of life, the boastfulness of human ingenuity. That is the lust of the eyes, so that humanity can say, look what I have done, look what I have created. Okay? That is the lust of the flesh, the ego, the architects, the artists that created this monument of humanity, of human construction. The lust of the eyes. They're like, look beauty that I have created. I am like the creator, because look at this creation of mine. Okay? That building is leaven. That building causes humanity to be puffed up. That building in Notre Dame causes all of those couples and all of those people that served in there when it was a church, quote unquote, it caused them to be puffed up with pride. Look at what we have bought. Look at what we have built. We have purchased. Look at all the art. Okay? So when I say good that it burned, and I say it should have burned to the ground, I mean it. Okay? Because in scripture, Elohim will not let stand the things of the enemy. Okay? Now, one of the brothers